This is a video review of the Transformers Robots in Disguise Warrior Class Steeljaw figure, or at least Amazon.com is calling this Warrior Class. I've got Grimlock's packaging here, and I'm not seeing any mention of Warrior or Deluxe on here. The same thing was true with Steeljaw's packaging, so your guess is as good as mine what this side class is actually being called. I don't know why it wouldn't be called Deluxe, but then again, I don't know why Amazon's calling it Warrior Class either. So anyway, this is Steeljaw's vehicle mode, and it's an interesting looking vehicle mode. Considering that Steeljaw's face is basically a wolf's head, I think they did a good job of making a vehicle mode that looks kind of like a wolf's head, like, excuse me, like this right here, especially the way that it sort of goes up and then over. Just the curve of it really looks like a wolf's nose. Same with just the front stuff right here, and then these look like ears back here. So it's a really interesting and mean looking vehicle mode, and I do quite like it. That's in contrast to his robot mode and transformation, both of which I despise. But anyway, before we get into that, he rolls. Now let's get into that. So we'll take off his little weapon here, which is a little claw thing. It just stores in that little slot right there, and we'll put it off to the side. Now, to start this transformation, you're going to have to feel like you're going to break it. And basically what you do is you pull these to the side, and you just sort of pull them out and around. And what really sucks about doing this is, if you saw there, it looked like this was twisting out of its place, which really sucks, as you'll find, because when I get this out of here, and actually one thing that sucks about this too is that sometimes when you try and get this out, you pop off the wheel back here, because it's just one of those snap-on wheels. So anyway, I got that done. So what really sucks about this thing being put under so much twist is that there's no pin through it, so it's just going to pop off a lot. Like, it hasn't happened to me yet, but it's the kind of thing where it will pop off. And it's a kind of joint where once it pops off once, it'll never stop popping off. So I'm not thrilled about that at all. So anyway, now we have to do the same scary, terrifying transformation bit to the other side. And like, maybe there's a good way to do this, but the instructions certainly don't tell you, because like, I know these aren't Steeljaw's instructions, I don't have his packaging anymore, but these are all the instructions you get with these new figures, and they're really not detailed enough to tell you any of the nuance of the figure. They're just, 9 to 10 steps, and not quite enough detail. So I'm very much not happy with the instructions that these guys come with. So anyway, you get these out to the side like this, and now the next section I do quite like. It's how you do the feet. Now the feet, you pop them open like this, and then you will bring them down like this, and then you sort of get a lot of people call it chicken leg, but it's actually a not ungulate, it's a like humans are plantigrade. Damn it, I can't remember the term for it, but humans are plantigrade, cows and horses are ungulates, and this is the I can't remember what this kind of leg is called. It'll come to me. And if it doesn't, oh well. Anyway, now you'll bring down his tail here, and then you'll bring up the head through here, like this. Well, gotta bring these out of the way a little bit. You'll bring up the head through here. Bring up the head through here. Oh, come on. There, you bring up the head through there, you fold this back, and then the way you solidify this all together is that there are little tabs right here that go in the slots right there. And I'm really impressed with how good of a job they actually did with making these stick into place, because they don't come undone very easily. Like, certainly not through the normal play of the figures. So it's nice that they did that pretty well. But anyway, what you'll do next is you'll just bring the tail back so it's out of the way of the legs, straighten out the legs, and then this is the part, another part of the figure that I really hate. To get his elbows, like right now he doesn't have elbows, so you need to telescope the arms down, but I feel like I have to break the arms whenever I do this, and then to use the elbow, what often will happen is that it'll start sliding forward a little bit, so then when you start using the elbow, you're actually putting a lot of stress on that little channel in there, which is very thin plastic. And it's also a little ratcheted thing down here, so it doesn't like to work very well, and that's the good arm. On the other arm, it almost doesn't work. Like, if it breaks on camera, well, that'll just show you the quality of the toy, which is not very high. So like, I don't want to try bending it any further because it'll break. But anyway, this is his robot mode, and I kind of like the idea behind it, that it's very bestial and animal-looking robot mode, especially with, like, the tail and the way the feet are shaped, and I cannot remember that word. Oh well, it doesn't matter. It's not part of the review. And so I do kind of like the idea of his robot mode, but, like, especially the wolf head there, but I wish he had more color to break it up, because his blue is not an easy blue to look at. It's the, it has the same kind of quality that Underbite has here, where the plastic just soaks up light. Even though it's fairly bright, it just soaks up light, and it doesn't really reflect any details, so it just becomes very hard to look at over time because it puts strain on the eyes. I know it sounds kind of complainy, but because there's nothing to break it up, or very little to break it up, it just becomes very monotonous and tiresome looking. Now, for his posability, his arms are pretty bad. He doesn't have an outward joint at the shoulder. He has it up here, so he has those weird arm joints where they go in and out before they go forward and back. So if you want him to bring his arm back, you have very limited range with how it works. Also, his arms cannot go around 360. They bump into this little hinge here. He does have a bicep swivel, which is nice, and he barely has an elbow joint here. It does not work very well. His head can rotate side to side. Now, I do like his head pretty well. It is an interesting looking head. His legs are okay-ish. They go forwards and back on ball joints, in and out a little bit. They rotate above the knee. They bend at the knee, and you can bend them down here too to shorten up the leg. I do like that bit. But what sucks about the legs is that, again, no flat instep. In fact, it's hard to say that's even a foot at all, because it doesn't, there's only a point at the front, and then there's nothing at the back from the stand, so he's just going to roll back. It's like his foot is a hemisphere. And so the only way he can stand is if he uses his tail, which, strangely enough, is not quite long enough to be useful in a lot of poses, and it's also very weak. And then he also has his, a big bunch of kibble back here that makes him back heavy. I don't care about the kibble too much, because it does sort of fit his animalistic robot mode, and it does kind of give you a reason to hunch him over a little bit like this, but if you're going to do that, it would make more sense for his head to be able to look up, and the figure's just a mess. I'm not a fan of this figure at all. In fact, I think it's pretty terrible. His weapon here is not bad. It's just this little claw thing that he holds in his hand, and that's about it for this guy. He's not good by any stretch of the imagination. He has some inventive ideas in his design, and I would love to see this figure re-released with some more thought into it, because I think there is a good figure inside of it. It's just the execution isn't there. So anyway, this has been a video review of Steeljaw, not recommended, and a review Transformers, Digimon, Tobots, Power Rangers, lots of stuff like that. And if that sounds interesting, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.